So this video is just basically going to show us how we can import a client's contact list into Vertical Response. But this is kind of how we want to edit the documents. That way we make sure we get all the email addresses from the client. The most recent one here, this is for Bevan. Her export was 8/3/2011, which is today. So we're going to double click her CSV file and we're going to pull it up here. Now this is kind of a big file. She uses Top Producer for all of her contacts, a very common database system for our clients. We're going to expand it. We're going to see that they have tons of information in here, all these different columns, and we don't need about half. We probably only need about 5% of all this information. So what we're going to do is I'm going to start on this very end here, all the way down at the end. You can just drag the scroller across. We're just going to start here, and I'm going to pull this all the way back as far as I'm just going to keep pulling it to get back to, don't need anything there, we don't need street addresses. Looks like we're getting into phone numbers, fax, we don't need fax, pagers. We'll come back here, we'll start with the pager numbers, how about that? And we'll go all the way to the very end. We'll go this way. And we're going to right click on one of the column headers, and we're going to click delete. Okay, so that cleans up about half of our columns. So now we just have a few of the columns left. First column we're going to start with is the primary first name. So anything to the back side here, we don't need any of these, so we're just going to select them all, and then we're going to right click and delete those. Primary, let's see, primary last name, so we're going to leave that column. Initials, junior, we don't need any of this information here. Sales letter, envelope, company, primary, don't need any of that. So we're just going to select all those and delete all of those. Now, email address, that is what we are here for, these email addresses. So let's see if we can shrink down some of these columns here. This column A is huge. I'm just going to scroll down here to find out why. Okay, so this person has this note in here. We don't want that note. We're going to scroll down some. Whoop, there's another note. We're going to delete that. We're also going to delete and delete, since those are not names. These are all very large notes. Somehow they ended up in the A column, which sometimes happens with our clients. They get stuff gets in different spots, so we're going to delete anything that should not be in here. Delete that. Delete. Delete. So it's kind of a tedious process, but the thing is we don't want to miss any of our clients. We don't want to miss any of their data because they work very hard to get the information and to get these contacts. Just getting a contact can take a lot of time, energy, and a lot of money, and so we don't want to lose any of these clients or any. What was that last item there? I saw an @ symbol, so I want to make sure I wasn't going to lose an email. So we're just going through and deleting these large notes, which is making this column so huge. And I'm still going through. So basically, as long as it's not their first name in this column, I am deleting it. Just because that is going to be going in the first name column when we import, and so if it's not a first name, then there's really no need for it in our system. And that's really all we want. You know, some of the stuff is in our client system and it's notes for them and things that they need, but we only want to keep and save the information that we are going to deem relevant. So now that that has been cleaned up, I'm going to extend the window here as much as I possibly can, because I want to shrink this A column back down. Now it still says that there's stuff in here that's leading us all the way to the end. Whoop. Looks like we have a couple more issues there. Hopefully we can care of. There we go. Delete those. What I'm doing to do that is I'm just clicking on the scroller in the center of the mouse. I'm just clicking on the scroller and then dragging up. And that allows me to scroll. It's going to show all the information, but it's going to scroll a little bit faster than what we want. So there's another one there. So let's give this a try. Oh, still got some information in here. There we go. Alright, still, there was one there. There we go. Much better. Again, trying to condense this stuff down here. Column C. This is our email column, so there shouldn't be. Looks like somebody's got some big notes in here. Let's see here. I want to get rid of all this major stuff. Scroll down this list here. Whoop, there was one. Delete that. And all I'm trying to do is make this so it's viewable for me at some reasonable level. That we don't have just a ton of information in here. Whoop, there's some notes up here. Get rid of these. So you can tell what we don't want to do is we don't just want to import what the client sends us. We really need to go into the CSV file and edit the file. Excuse me. We really want to edit the file to a point that we can use it, not just what they send us, because sometimes what they send us is just the information in their database, and it's not that it's useless, but it needs to be modified, and that there's definitely some adjustments that we can make so that their list is much more usable. Because what happens a lot of times is a client will add information or add a contact, not realize that they had all this extra stuff in a certain field, and then their client might not get added to the email list. And if they contact that person, they're going to go, no, I never got any of your emails. And then they're going to come to us and say, well, hey, these people were in my list, why didn't you get them? So we want to make sure that we clean up the list as best as we possibly can. Seeing there's emails all the way down here, so we just want to clean this thing up as best as possible. Alright, last look through here. Whoop, there's some people there. scroll down here one last time just to see if we can get an idea. Here we go. Pull this stuff off. There we go. Okay, so this is a little bit better here. Let's go ahead and shrink this down so we can view this whole file in one window. Alright, so now we got their name, last name, email address, unsubscribe. They should all be no's if they're in the database. There shouldn't be any yeses in there. This was an unsubscribe, so we'll want to delete that. So what we can do here, we'll fix that. We'll save that unsubscribe. Web address, don't need that address there. Here's something we do want to look for though, is this other email. We want to see this other web type. Let's go ahead and see what is in here. Just a note about a client, other website, other email, other email, other email notes. Okay, so there's no email addresses in this column, so we're going to delete this column. But some of these columns probably do. So like this column here, we want to see there's an email at. Let's take a look. There's an email address there. Okay, so we want to make sure that we capture there's another email address. So here's what we're going to run into, is that there's still some email addresses in this column. So what we want to do is we want to just drag down and select this entire column. We're going to assume that there's email addresses all the way down here, and we don't want to miss these. We don't want to miss these emails. I mean, these. Again, we want to make sure we capture everybody's email address. So we're going to go all the way to the bottom, right-click. We're going to copy. We're going to come to this email address column. We're going to scroll all the way down the bottom. We're going to right-click. We're going to paste. So now, even though there's going to be a lot of blank ones in here, eventually there's going to be those email addresses, and Vertical Response will pull those in. So now we can delete that column. The other email, those are just more notes, so we can delete that column. Now we got phone numbers, home phone number, looks like. Got to take out these other two, home phone. Got the business phone number. And we have a mobile phone number. Extending this window here to see why this column is so huge. And so I can shrink that. And we're going to shrink column F here as well. Business phone, and we can delete those. So what we're left with, we want to, let's go ahead, we want to sort by that unsubscribe. Because we don't want to add anybody that's unsubscribed. So we're going to come over here, we're going to do, we're just going to select that column, drag all the way across, and we're going to sort, custom sort by column D. We're going to go Z to A, so that way Y shows up first. Okay, so these are all people that have unsubscribed. We want to delete them because we do not want them in the system. And we're all left with the people who have not unsubscribed. So the file is clean, so we're going to go ahead and save this file. Yes. And then what we're going to do is we're going to open up our Vertical Response account. here, and we're going to go to Bev Ann Phillips. I'm going to log into that account. We're going to go down to Bev Ann Phillips, and actually let's go back. Let's go to Actions, and we're going to append file. We're going to import by uploading a file. We're going to browse for that file, which is in Clients, Bev Ann Phillips. It's in her CSV file, and it was date modified, was the most recent one. This exports 8.3, so we're going to open this, click Next. Vertical Response is pretty good about finding most of the information. So Maxine, Virginia, and John, we know that's the first name. Leslie, Jefferson, Ferguson, this is their last name. Email address, that that was the unsubscribed, so we're just going to leave that. Now the other columns, I don't remember the phone numbers, so let's just take a look. Home phone, business phone, mobile. So it's got home, mobile, and here's our business, work phone. And we want to check both of the boxes, import newer data. If a match is found, overwrite the older record. We're going to go Next. It's going to load the list. And it added 145 records. 806 were updated, which means that they probably had an updated phone number or an updated name or last name. And then it has the list of rejected ones. You can see why they've been rejected. Some were bounced on a previous email sent. A lot of these had no valid email address. So a majority of those had no email address, or they had bounced previously. Some are duplicate records, so it takes care of the deduping for us, or they've unsubscribed from prior campaigns. And then there was only 9 improperly formatted email addresses. So that's pretty successful. So that we're going to go ahead and stick with that. And so now we've added 145. And now if we go to the home, we go back to Bev Ann Phillips, we can see that her list size is now much larger. So that is how we want to add email addresses. Again, can't emphasize enough, we want to make sure that we adjust and filter our clients' list when they send it to us. Make sure we get all the email addresses that they send us. We don't want to miss any or lose any, just because of the amount of work that goes into obtaining that information. So please be careful when you're importing the email addresses, and follow those steps, scrub it really well, and it will be greatly appreciated.